Yo, so this is different. This is something new. It's not something that typically people online would expect me to talk about. When you're reading the title of this episode, you're probably like, "Wait, what? Who what? Why?" Well, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name's Jory Goodman. I run the Time Teller channel. I'm the Simple Consultant on Instagram, very active here in the content creating community. I talk about watches and cars, and guess what? What we're talking about here pertains to none of those things. And it's kind of uncomfortable, I'm going to be honest. You know, I do a live stream every single week, right? And typically it starts off with me and the viewers conversing about watches. And then often they ask me about cars. And then, we might talk about anime and food and stuff like that. But there's always one kind of poignant part in the live stream where I go off on one of my rants. And there's typically some humor sprinkled in. Like I think one time I did this whole dissertation, this whole thesis on why Donnie Darko is a terrible movie and why you shouldn't trust people who say they like and understand that movie, because there's just, come on, there's no way you can understand Donnie Darko. But jokes aside, often I also talk about like real stuff, things that are struggles for myself and others, whether it be depression, anxiety, uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, things that keep us up at night. And those clips, like every time we talk about it, I get emails from people being like, "Hey, I feel what you said. Like, I feel it too. I understand." And that's just so incredible. And people have asked to have me talk about it more and go more in depth with it. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be flat out honest with you. That makes me initially feel uncomfortable to be vulnerable like that on camera and go more in depth and make dedicated content based upon things that I personally struggle with, whether it be anxiety, depression, the fear of the unknown, not being where I think I should be in life, and all these things which are very common amongst humans, right? These aren't like revelations that I'm having by myself. I think a lot of you guys out there also feel these things. But when it came to the prospect of me making content about this, I felt kind of like, I don't want to open myself up to that. I show you guys, you guys see what I allow you to see. I talk about watches, I talk about cars, I sprinkle in some humor. Maybe I sprinkle in some personal development stuff, but that's it. But then I realized something. What do I always tell everybody at the end of my live streams? The first thing I say is get out of your comfort zone, because it pays off, right? And then I say, tell someone you love them and tell yourself you love yourself. If I don't make this content that other people are asking me for, and if I don't break through that initial discomfort and if I succumb to the fear of having you guys judge me and me looking like an emotional sap, or me being too woo-woo and cheesy, then I'm breaking one of my own rules. I'm not getting out of my comfort zone. And here we go with the first crazy thing that I'm going to tell you guys. And it's cheesy, it's weird, it's a little woo-woo out there, but this led me to sitting down here, turning on the camera, and starting this new project. All right, so sit down, have a seat, grab a snack, and welcome to the things that keep me up at night. So, okay. It is now March 2022. And we all know what happened in 2020, right? March 2020. If you guys were uncertain about life before then, after then, things became a total whirlwind. Okay? A total whirlwind. It was like the fear accelerator. And not necessarily for your personal, like, physical well-being, like in regards to this new virus that no one knows about, and people are dying, and you can get sick, and it's highly contagious, and the numbers keep going up. We got to flatten it, and things keep going up, and it's getting real bad, and blah, blah, blah. That's already, I understand, can be scary. I never felt that fear. Like, I ended up catching it, and I was fine, thank God. So, and I don't want to open up that can of worms, but what I'm trying to say is there was already that fear of, like, getting the virus, but there was a whole bunch of other things. There was the lockdowns, depending on where you live. I live in Los Angeles County, so we were hit with very, very heavy restrictions. It was the isolation. It was the, okay, when can we go out and grab food? Like, our schedules are changing. Oh, people aren't working. When can we go back to work? Thank God I am in an industry where I'm my own boss. I can work pretty much from anywhere. I can just set up a camera and talk. I can use my phone if need be. Like, I'm very fortunate in this way. But there was a whole bunch of weird things going on. And not only did, physical ailments rise, but mental ailments started turning their ugly heads and showing their faces to all of us, right? Depression, anxiety, suicides went up. Really terrible things that were under the surface started bubbling up. And it was all due to what I think is this kind of isolation and the in-your-face constant bombardment that you don't know what's going to happen. Things are getting worse and we don't know what's happening. And now you're being isolated and your way of life is changing, and the things that you used to be able to do are now you can't do them. This throws people into, if you want to talk about just normal day-to-day worries, now throw in all this other stuff and see how people react. It's not normal. And it makes sense that people started not reacting well to this, myself included. And this is where I admit certain things to you. I come off as a very, funny, happy-go-lucky guy. I try to stay positive, and that's true. That is all true. I don't turn on a character when I get on camera for the Time Teller channel. I'm not, like, moping around, and then it's like, okay, I gotta film an episode about this G-Shock, so let me just turn on the camera and action. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. No, like, I'm what you see on camera is pretty much what I am in real life, right? But what you don't see on camera is that I am a human. I'm a very normal human. And I don't like saying I've struggled with anxiety and depression. I live with anxiety and I live with depression. And I've gone to speak to people about it. I've talked to a therapist. All these things that are kind of taboo are kind of just normal to me now. These are real things, right? And I've been honest with my viewers about it, because I think the more that we as content creators say these things, like, yeah, go see a therapist if you want to talk to someone. I have anxiety. I've been depressed. Like, the more we talk about these things, the more others will feel not as alone with these things, right? We are all unique. We are all unique people. I believe that. But if you think you're different or weird or wrong or damaged because you have anxiety or depression, that's not the case. That's not the case. There's a lot of people out there that are just like you in that sense. So you're not alone. That's what I'm trying to get at. So here we go. All right. 2020 happened. And you guys all know Connie. For those of you who don't know, I have a girlfriend. Her name's Connie. Been together for a good long while. I'm in love with her. She's in love with me. Great relationship. March 14th is her birthday. I knew that things were coming down the pipe because, since January of 2020, you were hearing things were going on in China and yada, yada, yada. I knew it was just a matter of time until we got hit over here with a bunch of craziness. And I'll never forget, we went out to dinner for her birthday. We went out, we walked around, and that night we got notifications on our phone that lockdown was happening. Everyone had to get inside by 10 p.m., I think it was. I remember my sisters texting me being like, oh my gosh, look, like they're actually doing it, this and that. And from that moment, I didn't realize how my life was going to change, not to sound dramatic. It went from me living my life, working, seeing my girlfriend all the time, her being around me in the house, just living life, to us being very, very distant because her parents are older. Again, this uncertainty, she didn't really know what was going on. I didn't really know what was going on, but she felt the need that she wanted to be with her parents and kind of take care of them at night in the evening. And that was a sacrifice I was willing to make. Yeah, you go do your thing, definitely. You want to take care of your parents, you want to go see them, that's great. But what she was also doing during the day was working. She is a very well-educated professional, and she, without getting too much into it, she was working all throughout the pandemic. And so what did this mean? It meant that I went from seeing her every day, all day, or whenever, all night, this and that, all day, all night, to me, not seeing her for like weeks at a time because she'd be working and then she'd be with her parents in the evening. And for the first week, it threw me for a loop a little bit, but I was like, okay, how long is this going to last? Like, how long is she really going to be doing this? And then things started getting worse in the news, right? All this craziness, it's getting crazy. This many people are dying. This many people are infected. And so I was like, oh, obviously this is not going to end in 2 weeks, but how long is this going to last in my interpersonal relationship? A couple weeks, and then, like a month. And I would see her for a couple hours on the weekend. And it went, because she was so worried about potentially like not being there for her parents and making sure that they had food and this and that. And I get it. I really respect her for that, be like wanting to be there for the people that she cares about. And another thing I respect is she felt I was strong enough to like handle it, and make that sacrifice. And I appreciate that. The truth is, it didn't come without certain side effects, I will say. This is really weird to talk about, I'm finding. This is very, very strange to talk about on camera. And this is, I don't know if I'm going to upload this because it's uncomfortable and weird to talk about. Some black coffee there. Decaf. So another interesting thing that was going on while like all of this was happening was I was still making content. I wanted to be able to produce the content that I wanted to see and hopefully cheer people up and hopefully be, give some respite to the constant bombardment that was all about this terrible thing going on. I didn't want to bring it up. I don't talk about politics on my channel. I don't talk about, current events unless it pertains to watches or cars, because I don't think everything needs to be politicized. I don't think everything needs to have, all these statistics about deaths and infections and this and that. I wanted to give people a place to go to escape from all of that, right? And so part of it was me making the content that I wanted to see and cheering other people up, while also in the back of my mind being kind of bummed, because this was also affecting me. I wasn't able to see my loved one as much as I wanted, but I also didn't want to complain about it because I didn't want to make her feel bad for taking care of her older parents. Like, I get it. So what led me to wanting to film this today and just dropping this all on you? Well, during the third week of like the lockdowns, I started feeling very isolated, and I didn't admit it to anybody. I didn't tell, my viewers, hey, what's going on, guys? I'm reviewing this watch. I feel alone. I didn't bring that up on the channel. I didn't, tell my parents. I didn't really even tell Connie, my loved one, that I was feeling kind of lonely, and I should have, but I didn't. And what ended up happening? Well, I started getting recurring dreams. Okay, here's where it gets creepy. And the dreams were about me waking up and being in the woods, like pitch black. I must have had like some form of flashlight. It was like in first person view, because I could see like the roots on the ground, and I would bump into trees when I would get close to them, and like this and that. And I was like I felt this like intense like sense of like urgency, right? Like there wasn't anything chasing me in this dream, but I was like alone in the woods, and I remember feeling like incredibly uncomfortable, the way that you would probably feel if you woke up in the middle of the woods like at night, right? You would feel fear. That's the word. I felt fear. And I remember I would wake up like in real life and be like, well, that is bizarre. Like, that is bizarre. And I would go back to sleep, and I would have that dream again of being alone in the woods. And it was incredibly uncomfortable. It was incredibly uncomfortable. And boy, this went on for months, dude. This went on for months. It wasn't every night that I would have this dream, but it went on, and the fear got like really bad, and the discomfort in the dream got really bad. There wasn't like crazy horrific imagery in the, like, there wasn't like, body parts and like blood and like demons. Like it wasn't like that. It was just this kind of, it was almost boring. Like I don't see anything but roots and trees and like leaves on the ground, and I'm alone. And it started affecting me poorly in real life. Because what I didn't realize was this dream, and I don't know how much you buy into like dream analysis and everything. It made me realize that I was feeling very, very alone, even if I didn't want to admit it to myself. Why? Well, because I didn't go see my parents for months and months. I didn't see my girlfriend except for a few hours here or there during the day. I didn't, see my friends. Even going out to grab a bite to eat was not a thing. The gyms were closed. We forget how valuable it is just to be out and about where there are other people. Because sometimes just being around other people and sharing that nod, sharing that smile, sometimes that's all you need, right? Like a flower needs sunlight. We need like interaction with other humans. And that was taken away. And so fast forward to now, and don't worry, like Connie and I, we've reintegrated and things are good. But last night I had that dream, and it was really strange because instead of this fear or sense of urgency, I was like incredibly calm in the dream. And I was like walking around, and it was like, oh, I've been here before, bro. Like I've done this. And I was walking around, and I wasn't worried. I wasn't scared. There wasn't this like looming sense of doom, like impending doom. It was just kind of like I was going through the motions. And I woke up, and I was like, holy cow. Like, am I back here? Like, am I back in this space. And I shared this with a couple of my friends, and they were like, I get it. And I spoke to my therapist about it, and he was like, yeah, I get it. You've like adapted to this sense of isolation. And what's insane is I spoke to a couple of my channel members, some people that I keep close to me, about this, and they feel it too. This kind of wonky reintegration and the kind of resentment that we've been holding, that like we were forced to be isolated from one another, and this kind of anger about the uncertainty that was thrust upon us. And I just realized, like, I'm not trying to be too altruistic here. I don't think that this new series of content I'm putting out is going to change the world. However, I'm a normal dude. I'm 32 years old. I'll be 33 in June. I have brought up to some of my other friends that are around my age these things that I was feeling, and they were feeling it too. And I let them know that it was like kind of uncomfortable for me to like talk about these things, and they were in agreement that they felt uncomfortable bringing it up. And so if any one person out there can find some value talking about these things, and hearing a normal guy admit these things on camera to the world, if it helps anyone to hear that, then I'm going to keep producing this content. I'm going to keep talking about what keeps me up at night, because I think that we need to stop isolating ourselves, and I think we need to be honest with each other and honest with ourselves. And so I get that this is going to turn off a bunch of viewers. I get that this is going to be super cheesy. I get that this is going to be kind of existential woo-woo. What is he talking about? But I put a message out to my channel member, to my Discord group, filled with my channel members, and to my Instagram. And I said, I'm working on a new project that'll be announced really soon. But I'd like to ask you all a somewhat personal question. What keeps you up at night? And, you know, there's some funny, people are humorous, like, oh, my kids, coffee. But there are other people saying projects and deadlines. Someone saying health anxiety. Honestly worried I'll have a heart attack. As a 25-year-old, I feel like I'm running out of time. Crisis. All the things I have to do the next day. These are real things that people are not necessarily comfortable talking about. And I think that we should talk about these things, because if we get it out there and we flesh through this stuff, we won't feel isolated. We'll have it on the table, and we'll be able to crush these things. So thank you for partaking in this first bit of content. A lot more on the way, because guess what? There's a whole lot of things that keep me up at night. And yeah, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I will catch you on the next one.